Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at IMPENDIUM. IMPENDIUM is brought to you by Dragon Egg Games. It's for 1 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, and games ranging anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. IMPENDIUM is the standalone successor to the popular Nova Lux card game. Welcome to the rebirth of the universe. Immediately following the events of Nova Lux, you will take up the mantle of building the universe anew. Civil unrest and fear have caused factions among the star colonies to subvert the Federation, as it works to ignite new stars and forge galaxies which can once again perpetuate life. Your factions will position for power and prosperity in the new Galactic Order. But creation comes at a cost, as the inhabitants of your universe not only defy, but reverse the natural law of entropy. The void takes notice. IMPENDIUM is played over the course of multiple rounds until a player reaches 25 victory points, or one galaxy of each color has been constructed, at which point each player may take one more turn before the game ends. And there are additional ways to play. There's an AI deck for solo play, or choose to play semi-cooperative or fully cooperative, or expand the universe even further by integrating the original Nova Lux, so there is tons of depth and game in these small boxes. For those of you that are familiar with Nova Lux, the player cards and resources will be very familiar. The resources in this game will be used to rebuild the galaxy. You have water, artifacts, botanical oxygen, life forms, and hydrogen. Each player will start the game with 3 of each resource, along with their colony discs and an arc of salvation. And each player will receive a starting faction. These factions have all kinds of abilities. Based on the player count, you will populate the galaxy with stars. Then in turn, players will fill the resource spots with colony discs, spinning 3 in total. Above the galaxy, there are 3 Federation star projects under construction at all times. These are the stars being built to bring new life to the galaxy. Lastly, we have the victory point tracker along with factions you can purchase later in the game. There is the Harbinger of the Void deck, who are trying to slow down your goal of rebuilding the galaxy. Other decks, which we will get to, are the Galactic Diplomacy deck and the Rules of the Galaxy. Rounds of the game are broken down into 4 phases. First, we're going to generate resources and score victory points if any are available to you. Secondly, we're going to activate Harbingers of the Void, if any are present in the galaxy. Then we move to the actions, and here you're going to be doing various things like building colonies, moving around the galaxy, and working on Federation projects. And then finally, you're going to be passing the starting player marker and reset your factions if you use any during this turn. So this first phase of the game is really all about gathering resources and potentially gathering victory points. Now, if you happen to have a Ruler of the Galaxy card in your hand, you can potentially score victory points during this phase. But really, we're all about gathering resources. So all the stars that are out in play, not the ones under construction, but the ones that are out in the galaxy where you have a colony disc or your Arc of Salvation, is going to net you a certain number of resources. So as a quick example, this one card, the green player, is going to score 2 hydrogen and 1 water off this one card because they have only a single colony disc there. Now, again, you're going to go across the galaxy and gather all the resources for all the different discs that you have in play for colonies and, again, the Arc of Salvation. Also, there is a wild that you can gather based on the Federation star that's in play. Next, you'll activate any Harbingers of the Void that happen to be in play, and these different abilities or different consequences of these Harbingers may affect the different phases. So as an example, this one will not allow you to score any victory points until it's been destroyed, and you'll get a chance to destroy these Harbingers in the action phase of the game. So then we move to actions, and this is really the heart of what you're doing on your turn. You're going to be spending resources like hydrogen to move. And to move from one card to the next, it's fairly expensive. To move off of a star, it's going to cost you 2 hydrogen. But you move to the gap between stars and then spend another hydrogen to move on to the adjacent star. So the interesting thing though is that it can cost you less to move if you happen to be in a void where there is no star, or when you happen to be on a star of a matching color. That will only cost you 1 based on your color that you're playing. Now, as you move around the galaxy with your Arc of Salvation, you might run into other players. And if you do, you can play nice and trade resources if that works for you. But you can also battle it out. You're going to roll a 6-sided dice, and then you take a look at which resource you have the least amount of. You add that total into your dice roll. Whoever has the highest dice roll wins the battle. And then the difference in the 2 different dice rolls will determine how many resources you steal from your fellow player. So another option to you is to create colonies. And based on moving throughout the galaxy, depending on the card you're on, the different stars will determine how much resources you have to spend to create that colony. It's all outlined at the bottom of the card. There are specific resources that you'll have to spend on slots on the left and slots on the right. You'll have to spend a numbered of a resource of your choice. But once those slots are filled up, they're filled up. And you only have a finite number of colony discs. So you might have to make some tough choices, but you can move discs from one star to the other when you create colonies. Or you might go work on a new Federation project, which is creating new stars. They're all under construction, and all players can be contributing to the different cards that are in play just by placing colony discs and paying the resource that it calls for. Now, the 3 resources on the left are the main ones to be concerned about. Once those resources are filled, then the player who does the last one will get to place it out in the galaxy. And then all the players who contributed to the construction are going to get a victory point based on the number of colony discs that they have on that card. So as you're placing these new cards into the galaxy, a couple different things can happen. If you place next to the same colored star and there's now 2 there, well, that signals to the harbingers and you have to draw a harbinger and place it next to the card if possible. But really, it's just showing you that you have to deal with that harbinger before you can place a 3rd one. But if you can place a 3rd one, then you get to draw one of these rules of galaxy cards if you control the most of the colonies in that particular set of galaxies. So every 3 cards of a same color is a galaxy. Now, the last few actions available to you are dealing with the Harbinger, using factions, and recruiting new factions. Now, dealing with Harbingers is really just you battling it out, using resources and placing your disc at the bottom of the card. And once that Harbinger has been destroyed, then whoever has the most discs gets the victory points that it calls for. And each player with a disc that contributed to the battle will get victory point as well. Now, also, you have your different factions and new ones you can recruit. Now, you can never only have 3, but it is expensive. In general, it's going to cost you 14 of a specific resource, but you get to deduct the amount of resources out in the galaxy that you're generating from that point total. And one of the big benefits of recruiting a new faction is that you get to pull 3 galactic diplomacy cards, choosing one and discarding the others. Now, these cards are going to do all kinds of different things, but the big benefit here is that you can use them at any time throughout the game. Also, you get to activate one of your factions. If you do activate them, you'll turn them sideways to show that it was done. Now, they're going to do all kinds of different things. As I said before, you might just get certain types of resources, or you might deduct certain type of resources. Lots of different ways that these cards can go. And so that final phase of the round is really a cleanup phase. And if you were the first player, that player marker gets passed and you reset your factions if you used any during this turn. Now, the game will continue this way until either one player hits 25 points or you've created a star galaxy of each of the different colored stars. And then there'll be one final turn to try to catch up and see who is the master of the galaxy. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, like I said early on, there's a ton of game in this tiny box, and combining it with the Nova Lux, the original game, really interesting, and the fact that there's multiple ways to play, the solo game worked really well. I like the presentation style of this game, and just the whole construction and building of the galaxy was a ton of fun. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.